What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Danny Brown's 7th album, Stardust. Danny Brown back once again. He kind of debuted as an old head back in the day, but he's certainly now a rap old head, very experienced. About 2 years since his last solo album, Quaranta, in 2023. Earlier that year was the collab album, Scaring the Hoes with JPEG Mafia. Before that, his last solo album was 2019. And I think about this 3-album, now 4-album run from Danny in a similar light, because this is all of the work that he's done post Atrocity Exhibition in 2016, his claimed magnum opus record. And most recently, of course, this is Danny's first album since exiting rehab, becoming sober. Danny Brown openly acknowledging that his drug use, his alcohol use was becoming a problem. It was too extreme and he needed to turn things around. And he actually gets into that on this new album, Stardust. Danny Brown's 7th album, Stardust, is my favorite album of his since Atrocity Exhibition, quite easily. I find this more revisitable than anything he's done recently, in large part because for the first time in a while, it feels like Danny Brown is doing something new with his sound, namely working with a lot of new artists below the mainstream from the hyperpop and digicore, genres and subgenres online. This music feels really fresh for Danny Brown. It also is not surprising that his first album since exiting rehab just has a lot clearer of a sonic palette and feels a lot more lighter to revisit. He certainly addresses his demons and how they got the best of him, but this is just a lot more of a enjoyable listen and revisitable listen than, say, the depths of his last album, Quaranta. So when you take these sonic improvements and add in Danny Brown's trademark manic, fast-paced, energetic rap flows and quirky personality, it's not surprising that these songs really work. In particular, I really love the song Copycats featuring Underscores. Now, Danny has worked with some of these artists before, and I think if you're someone who's really into the hyperpop and like digicore scene and all this kind of alternate avant-garde type pop music, which has evolved tremendously over the last, 5+ years, if you've been really following that scene, you might hear a lot of these songs and not think they're super, revolutionary. It's more of a who's who, like a taster type album for these kind of songs, with Danny Brown almost as the MC, at least in my view of how I think about it. But it's still refreshing that it's Danny Brown bringing all these new folks, these new voices to many, into his own world, but still having it sound like one of his albums. And the first song, Book of Daniel, some acoustic guitar present, very OG Danny flow right away. However, the second track, Starburst, I think is an immediate highlight for me. This glitchy beat sounds great, perfect pairing with Danny Brown's energetic flow. Halfway through, you get a switch up with a new instrumental and a new flow, a bit more bass. And then, the last third is more outro vibe. But I think it's definitely a song that's fun to revisit. I like it quite a bit. Track 3, Copycats. I think this song is just straight up epic. I love the bass on this beat. It's a great synthy hyperbop feature from Underscores, who does a great job on the chorus. My favorite song for sure. One of my favorite Danny songs in a long time, honestly. Really enjoy it. 1999, this glitchy trip hop type track with a screamo chorus from John Naskis, however you say it. I love the Danny line, "My bitch be thick like Mewtwo." Shout out Pokemon, that was funny. Flowers, I like the feature again right here from 8485. I think the beat's quite fun once again. Lift You Up, another awesome beat, kind of almost show-tuney, at least in the sentiment I was getting. I think Danny's flow is really gliding here. It's dancey though, and I think that's what's kind of fun about it. It feels very light on its feet, and this is just not something we were saying about Danny's last few albums. Greenlight features Frost Children with a straight up emo feature, basically. I think the beat's great. Once again, you have these cymbals, these chimes with the bass drum. Sounds great. What You See wasn't really vibing with the ethereal quadeca vocals on the feature, to be honest. But Baby is another highlight for me, also featuring Underscores. I love that beat. I love the way that bass hits. I think it's a really hard track, and just that Baby lyric refrain, the way the beat kind of twitches around that sounds awesome. And then my last highlight is I Love My Life featuring Fentanyl. I think that's a pretty exciting feature for many. But again, a really fun flow. Also, and I should remiss not to mention the end, which has a bunch of features, but most of all, it's Danny getting as introspective as he possibly can about his, realization that he needs to seek help for his substance abuse, and of course, going to rehab in the end. He gets quite frank about his previous struggles, and it's pretty sobering intentionally to hear something like that. But it's good that he was able to get that out. But yeah, I mean, Danny Brown sounds refreshed, and even if he wasn't working with a bunch of young people pushing new genres, I think he still would have sounded pretty refreshed. I think his voice came across as quite strong, quite confident, and it seems like he's in a great place, and that's awesome. Let me know, though, what you think of Danny Brown's 7th album, Stardust. Do you agree it's his best album in several years? For me, since Atrocity Exhibition, let me know. And for more music reviews, more rap reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.